Very good. I understand we're going to talk about yee, old sheepdog.
We put the yee on
We put the extra yee on it.
Just because it's fun.
I'm assuming grooming will be a part of that discussion.
You hit it. And, you know, AKC has such wonderful words to write. Wait till you hear what they talk about grooming on this guy. I have not read anything from AKC, all these letters, so detailed in what they're going to tell you. They are not bashful on grooming requirements of the Old English Sheepdog.
I think that's probably important, though, right?
Oh, I think it is. Yeah, I think they're hitting it.
You don't know what you're getting into, then all of a sudden you got this dog that needs all this work, and you know, if it's not what you're ready for, then that could end up in people changing their mind on that dog.
Oh, I think that's so important. When you get into any kind of pet, make sure that you are, you know, educated on what that is, and it's also a great precursor for your children to understand the commitment of life. And we talk about that so often on this show, that it's a great learning tool for children in the house. But let's say you're a single adult, or maybe you're a couple, and you're saying, you know, I'm not sure if we're ready for that. You know, pet is a great place to start, because if you can't handle a pet, you're not going to have that great of a time with that child, and you might avoid a big mistake there.
Yeah, no doubt. That's Ron Salzer with Petland of Iowa City, and it is time for the amazing pet story of the week.
It's time for the amazing pet story of the week.
Wow, he's on fire.
Yes, he is. He's breathing fire. I didn't know he could do that trick. When he says amazing pet story, there was fire blazes coming out of his mouth. I didn't realize he could do that. Interesting.
He's such a unique guy.
I think he's previewing our story today. A devastating house fire could have claimed the life of 8 people, a big family, 8 people. But Thor, the family dog, saved the day near Louisville, Kentucky. This just happened last week near the home in Camp Taylor, Kentucky. A malfunctioning smoke detector was silent, and a family of 8 was able to escape thanks to Thor. He's a Rottweiler. He barked to wake up his family member, Bobby Jackson, to alert him of the flames. They were able to get out of the home, and as you can see, Ron, in the photo, the roof, a big disaster there. It looks like there was damage inside the home as well, and their home is actually in ruins. They say the inside is just really devastated, and they say that they're going to go out and buy him, quote, a big old steak and feed it to him.
Big old steak.
Yeah, like that. And so Thor is the hero. And without that barking dog to alert them of the fire, who knows? Sometimes when those fires happen, the carbon monoxide knocks people out before they get to wake up.
But so often it's the cats that get you up for the carbon monoxide.
The fire, yeah.
And here's the dog. So what lesson have we learned? Keep those fire alarms and detectors and everything working. And what did they say? It was silent?
Yeah. Well, it was a malfunctioning detector, and it was silent, so they didn't. It was supposed to work, but they checked it out afterwards, and apparently probably no battery or some reason it wasn't working right. So
get him working.
Yeah, and they do say that, good time to do that would be the time change as a reminder to check those smoke detectors. But here's what, one thing I remember, and this stood out to me because when you talk to people that see it and are involved in it, I remember a North Liberty firefighter on, and he was talking about the importance of smoke detectors, and he gave some real life examples of just how important it is. And when you see that, how it could have saved people, literally, it's how important it can be when you talk to someone who actually sees it on a daily basis. The amount of death compared to, and I don't have the numbers in front of you right now, but if you look, there's a very big correlation between homes with working smoke detectors and fatalities. And so there's a correlation that if you have a working one, you're a lot more likely to be able to get the family out of the house. Or get a Thor, but also
get a Thor.
Yeah, but keep the smoke detectors too. All right, so that's our amazing pet story of the week. We're going to take a break. When we come back, you know what Ron's going to talk about? Yee, old sheepdog. We'll also talk about vaccinations and why they're important. Health extensions, right? And aquarium filtration. All those topics.
Got to find something more sexy for that. Filtration.
Yes, we do. We'll work on that over the break. We'll be right back with more after this on KXIC. Welcome back. It's the PAWSitively Petland Show, AM 800, KXIC, Iowa City. I hope you're doing well. It's time to talk pets. That's what we've been doing here this morning, and we hope you enjoy it. we're going to have a lot of topics we got to cover here in the next half hour or so. We're going to talk about the ye old sheepdog and grooming and how important it is for that breed. We're also going to talk about filtration. That's all the best we could come up with is filtration for the tanks, aquariums, and whatnot. And we're also going to talk about vaccinations and health extension. So all those topics to get to. You have one ye old sheepdog pup at the pet store today as a time of recording this show. How big are they when they're little? Like how old?
How big are they when they're little?
Yeah, right. When they're young. I should say.
Gosh, I normally am looking at pounds. If I had to guess right now, we're somewhere around 7-8 pounds. Where a normal, small medium breed right now at 8 weeks is going to be anywhere from 2 pounds. You could go lower than that, but average 2 pounds to 4 pounds.
So you could tell it's going to be a big.
Oh yeah, this
big
is
dog.
Yeah. When you get handed the Old English sheepdog at our store, you'll go, "Whoa, this is a handful."
Yeah, and they get big, and they have a lot of fur. That's one thing. First thing I think about when I think about a sheepdog is I've seen some of those.
That's going to be the theme of the description here of fur. Massive. They do not shy away from saying this is a dog that needs to be groomed. So the history of it, they kind of took a twist a little bit. Like they always do on the history of the Old English sheepdog. It was kind of the arts. They looked at paintings and writings about Old English sheepdogs, date back to the 1600. One of the passages that they quote as a description of an Old English sheepdog, also known as a OES.
Oh, yeah.
So the OES, we'll go back to the long version, can be described as big and blocky with massive bone and full coarse hair with white and merle markings. Strong, active, good-natured, with a general conduct staid and dignified. I like that. So that was some of the writings. They've seen it in paintings, a shaggy dog similar to the Old English sheepdog that we would really see as, oh, yeah, that's exactly what we have today. 1835, they got a painting. Sidney Cooper crafted the first painting to represent, without a doubt, a purebred Old English sheepdog. They go on. Some writings from this time period refer to drover's dog that was used primarily for driving sheep and cattle to market. It is speculated that these dogs were exempt from taxes due to their working status. Why would that? I don't even follow that. But their working status.
Because they're
you would think that
the
government would say, "Oh, we need to tax them if they're working."
They're contributing to society.
Apparently. Yeah, maybe that's the benefit or something that you get from them. The form and function under the long shaggy coat is a sound, well-balanced, energetic, athletic, and sweet-tempered herding dog. He is built for power and endurance. So if you're looking for a dog that is mellow and laying around, while this dog definitely will be doing that, but know that there is a power, there is a lot of energy behind in that dog. His capacity for an instant takeoff, speedy gallop, and quick turns allows him to move cattle over long distances on rough terrain. So that gets back to the herding aspects of the original Old English sheepdogs. And then living with it's funny how they refer to him as OES in here. Living with an OES, there is no more beautiful dog than the Old English sheepdog, but that coat requires a tremendous commitment, at least 3 to 4 hours per week.
Whoa.
That's a commitment. The puppy coat will be easy to groom, but as the dog matures, the incoming adult coat will become matted, if not brushed, with the correct tools. And I was thinking about that as a topic for a future show that we're going to talk about grooming tools and all the different ones that are out there.
I would imagine that's enough to scare some people off right there, right?
Oh, yeah. I will be the first one.
Yeah.
Old English sheepdog. I will love it if somebody else owns it.
Yeah.
And then I get to come over and play and have fun. But there are plenty of people that say, "Hey, no problem." But here, let's ease up a little bit on this whole thing. Okay, so the puppy coat will be easy to groom, but as the dog matures, the incoming adult coat will become matted if not brushed. We talked about that. Some breeders recommend, and this is where I think if you're going, golly, that is my dream dog, I've always wanted it. Breeders recommend that the owners who do not show their dogs clip the coat to 2 to 3 inches a couple or a few times a year. And so that's the key, I think, with this dog. And I think it's the key with a lot of longer haired dogs, whether they're shedding or non-shedding, that you can always trim that coat down. It just realize you're going to have to do that multiple times. It's going to be a little bit of an expense when you bring this guy to the groomer and have it cut down. But if you're maintaining it down at that level, that's easier for the groomer as well. So I like also, but they still don't back off on the whole thing. Be prepared for dog hair on your clothes and furniture and the occasional dust bunny of dog hair. On rainy days, there will be wet, muddy feet and drippy whiskers after a drink of water. Although there's something cute about what it says also. Prepare for the expense of owning a dog who may weigh up to 100 pounds. And they're talking about the nutritional aspects of it. So that's it. I love what AKC has to say and all that. And that's some really good detail about that dog. It's a large breed dog. And so if that's something that's in your future, just go into it knowing what you're going to get into.
Yeah. That's good advice. And we've talked about that in the past, is that's, part of the goal is that not only do you want to get, those pets to their homes, but you want them to stay and be happy at their homes. And if you can get some of that out of the way early so people know what they're getting into, you can avoid people returning them and say, I didn't know I had to get all this.
The Petland store, ours and across America, have a great stat on sending puppies and dogs home with a family home, a permanent home, and keeping it there. And it's because of all the education on the front end. So it's a cool thing. I grew up with an old English sheepdog on our block, and I remember, you could just go up and hug that thing, and it was a fun dog to have around. I even remember the day it passed away and how sad that was, and all that kind of stuff. So wonderful dog as far as personality goes and all that. Just know that you've got a little commitment there.
All right, very good. And let's talk about vaccinating that sheepdog or whatever dog you may have.
Yeah, and vaccinations are something that we talk about on a daily basis in our store and when I'm out with breeders. And there's just some fascinating detail about vaccinations that I found, like, oh, I didn't know that kind of a thing. And so we're going to talk about it from a layman's turn. Your veterinarian is the go-to source of, what vaccinations are needed, when are they needed, all the things. What is it protecting against, and all that kind of stuff. What are the appropriate vaccinations as far as, age appropriate and all that. But just talking from a puppy aspect of things. So, you've got that 8-week-old puppy, or if you're breeding, you actually have, younger because they're with mom still. It's interesting what happens. And so have you ever heard of, that puppies, dogs, and cats get multiple sets of vaccinations? You've heard that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you know that it's the identical vaccination? They give it, 4 weeks. And then they get the same thing 6 weeks, and they get the same thing 8 weeks. Have you ever heard that?
No,
did you know that they were all identical?
No, I thought there would be different types of vaccinations.
For the most part, they're identical. There are some dewormings and all that kind of stuff that go in there as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But vaccinations, the reason why dogs are vaccinated is the same reason why we're vaccinated. Some people have found over the years, some scientists, veterinarians have found that, they've got a antidote or a product that will actually prevent, or 90% of the time prevent it from occurring in your dog. So the polio vaccine for us, kind of a thing. Well, they have distemper and rabies and some other things out there for dogs as well. What's I find interesting is just like we are protected when we drink mom's milk, we get antigens from mom's milk, and that protects us as a tiny, tiny newborn infant, protects us from all sorts of things. And that's why mother's milk is so important for us. Same thing for dogs and cats. Mom's milk is not only the appropriate nutrients for them, but it also has antigens protecting them from diseases and colds and sicknesses and all that kind of stuff. Now, as the puppy grows and ages, and mom's milk changes with it. And so those antigens start tapering off. And it's a slow taper over weeks. And what vaccinations do for dogs and cats are they pick up where the antigens left off. And so they're protected all up until then. But then now with science, we have found these vaccinations to continue that protection through the vaccination. The problem is mom's antigens, there's no real measure of how high they are and when and all that. There's estimates of when they're at full dose, and then when are they at 50%, and when are they non-existent. But they're all estimates because every dog, just like we are all different, those change as well in our bodies, in mom's milk and all that kind of stuff. But they have a pretty good span of window of time when it goes from fully protected to not protected. The issue becomes is mom's antigens will deactivate the vaccination. So let's say, at 4 weeks, you give a vaccination to a dog. That really should be, for most vaccinations, all that dog needs. It's not a multiple dose thing like some of the vaccinations that we have. One dose does it all. But if mom's antigens are at a level that will deactivate the vaccination, that dog is left unprotected, or that cat is left unprotected.
I had no idea.
But good news, mom's antigens are pretty high still if they deactivate it. So there's still some good protection there. So at 4 weeks, those vaccinations are given. And then at 6 weeks, another group is. But the same thing is occurring. We don't know how high those antigens are. So we're not sure if they took hold. But we want to make sure that the dog or cat is protected. So you give them again. Now, that's the gray zone. The final vaccinations, usually at around 8 to 10 weeks, we're pretty rest assured the antigens are they're at such a low level that, and guess what? The dog and cat have been weaned, so they're not even getting it anymore. But the levels within their own body have gone down. Now, give them another group of vaccinations, and now they're fully protected. And so that's why you have that triple dose in there for that. Dewormings. Did you know that all cats and dogs are born with worms?
I did hear that at one point. Yeah.
And so, it's one of those things where if you see it, you're like, gross, what did you eat? Well, if it's a puppy, they are born with it. And so you have to deworm your cat and dog at the beginning. And then I occasionally, like once a year, deworm my cat and dog with just a nice, gentle over-the-counter product. Those are just in case they've eaten some stool somewhere that had it in there, and then they've reinfected themselves with it. So dewormings are also done on every cat and dog, and if you don't, they're still in there and you need to get them out. And then some, like all dogs and all of us are a little different. Sometimes those little buggards in there take hold and you need multiple dewormings. That's why you'll hear that term too, just the quantities and stuff. And that's one of those things, if there's a lot in there and you get them, you'll know it pretty quick. And it's gross when it happens. And then you go, ooh, okay, good thing they're out now, kind of a thing. So dewormings is for a different reason, is done in multiple doses just to make sure that you've got them all, kind of a thing. What is also interesting, I find, is the expense in all this stuff. We're talking $800 to $1,200 worth of veterinarian care for the cat and dog. That's a lot of money. That's all the, going back multiple times. That's multiple office fees. That's the vaccination costs. There's tests engaged on these to see, have we done this? Have we done that? Testing for worms and all that kind of stuff. So realize there is a lot of expense in doing this for your puppy, $800 to $1,200. So a cautionary note, if you found that bargain puppy out there and it's a lot less than what you just heard, know that it didn't occur. Nobody's going to say, oh, I'm going to put all this money into a dog and then sell it for a really low price. They just didn't do it, is the thing. And so that's something that you want to really make sure that you've done the right thing and do the research and all that kind of stuff. But know that these vaccinations, dewormings, vet visits, testing, and all that kind of stuff, $800 to $1,200 of vet expenses.
So your pups, I don't think this is something we've ever talked about, but the mom's never with the pup by the time it gets to the pet store. So I'm assuming they're off mother's milk by then.
Yeah, around 6 weeks,
okay.
That's done. They're doing it on their own for the most part. And then by 8 weeks, they're fully weaned. Most dogs are fully weaned by then.
And so, because I've heard of that being a concern of people too, is that puppies being taken away from their moms too early. So is there a self-imposed limit, or is that by your breeders that they decide to not give them?
That's a countrywide rule, and a lot of things go into why 8 weeks, and somebody can argue longer. And there's actually we see people coming into our store with puppies from other places. We had one 2 weeks ago at 2 weeks.
Hey.
And that's just yikes. I think everybody would agree that's not good.
No.
Even at 6 weeks, that's not right, because we just talked about the antigens from mom's milk. Another thing that's occurring in the litter is mom is developing social skills with those puppies. If they are getting rowdy or whatever beyond control, then she's stepping in and taking care of that. She's actually doing some of the preliminary work for potty training. When they're in their den or the litter and all that kind of stuff, she's shooing them away to say, go poop out there. I don't want to take care of that anymore. So there's some social skills and some training that she's doing. And across America, it's generally agreed that at 8 weeks, this is veterinarians and all that kind of stuff, at 8 weeks, they generally are. It's always, though, a case-by-case basis. The smaller dogs tend to need to grow a little bit more, and so we'll stretch that out to 10, 11, 12 weeks. Shih Tzus are a funny little breed. Their teeth come in not much later, but later than most other dogs. So they tend to want to be, let them grow another week or two to get those the teeth in. Chihuahuas. So these are all the then details. Chihuahuas have open fontanelles, which is that soft spot on a baby's head. That they all have that at one point, but the Chihuahuas closes a little later, and so that's something that breeders are very cognizant of and saying, is the fontanelle closed to a point where this puppy is safe? So there's detail on each one of them in that way that you want to pay attention to.
Interesting. That's Ron Salzer with Petland of Iowa City. And so we've talked about vaccinations. Let's talk about fish for a while here. Filtration.
Yeah, we like to talk about other topics because we all know that dogs are the dominant conversation out there. We'll talk about small animals and some other things in the future, birds and all that. But right now, we've just got a series that we're talking about on fish. And what's the importance of filtration? Filtration does many things, and that's why it's an important part of your aquarium. Are you one of those people that go, gosh, I just can't keep these fish alive? There's multiple things that could be going wrong in your aquarium, and a filter solves a bunch of them. And so that's why filters are a great thing, and those that have been doing it for a while are all about the filter and maintaining it and all that kind of stuff. If you stay up on a filter, they're easy things. If you let them go and don't do anything, then you got a little project on your hand. Once a month is all it really takes. I take about, if I'm doing it for 10, 15 minutes, that's a long time. That's all the maintenance I do, and then I put it back together and go. So it's a pretty quick thing. What does a filter do? Well, we talked about last week about aeration in a tank. We breathe oxygen through the air. Fish breathe oxygen through the water. But oxygen has to keep on getting back into that water because they consume it. Just like if we got into an airtight room and we didn't allow any more air in there, well, there's still gases in the air and all that, but there's not enough oxygen. So in your little fish tank, you've got that controlled environment that you need to provide oxygen to. And so you might just have a small tank, but yeah, enough capacity of fish in there that they consume all the oxygen and then suffocate. So agitation is critical. An aeration stone, but a filter also does that. When the water comes back into the aquarium, whether it's an over the side, what they call power filters, over the side filter, when it dripples or whatever you want to call it, goes back into the water, it creates turbulence at the surface of that water, which then induces oxygen, a gas, back into the water, which gives the fish more oxygen to breathe. So that's an important thing. Whether you have power filters or what's called a canister filter. Canister filters are something that you have underneath the tank, and you have two hoses, one taking water from your tank, one bringing it back. They are much easier to work with because you can disconnect them, bring them to the sink and all that kind of stuff real easy, rinse things off that you need to and all that. And then power filters are just a little simpler version of it, but they're over the side. So agitation, getting oxygen into your tank is number one. The second thing is filtering particulate out of the water. And that's what I think it's filtering. Yeah, that is doing it. And that's mainly cosmetic. The fish, for the most part, don't care about that particulate in the water. But we like a nice, clean, clear tank. And it's a nice way of getting debris out of your tank is through the filter. So that is another one. Running it through a activated carbon source is another one. That, while I've never experienced nasty smelling tanks, have you ever had a tank that actually got smelly?
Well, I had turtles.
Let's talk about
I had turtles when I was
Yes, okay, so turtles,
they stink.
well, that's because they poop a lot and pee a lot. There's a lot of waste that needs to be filtered out.
And I didn't have that as a kid.
You just did water changes on there. And so a turtle is a lot different than a fish. Fish are much less as far as the pooping and peeing and all that kind of stuff. So they're a little easier in that way. But you're getting to where the smell comes from. The activated carbon on a fish is just a nice polisher to remove any of those smells. My tank at home, boy, you could put your nose right to that water and it smells really fresh, i.e. there's no smell. And so that's the activated carbon does a lot of work for you in that way. And then there's usually a bio aspect to your filter that is also important. Bacteria are really important for your tank. We actually have bacteria in bottles in our store to help you in other ways, ammonia spikes and stuff like that, where it actually will consume the ammonia that is lethal to fish and keep them down at levels where the fish survive. Bacteria then need to cultivate within your tank. A filter is a nice place where water can flow past, keep those aerobic bacteria really active, and the bacteria take care of a lot of the waste and stuff that is in your tank that you don't even notice or see, but it's a natural biological, where if we're pooping and peeing in there, it's got to go somewhere, and bacteria are the ones that break that down. So your filter does that as well.
Interesting. All right. Well, you can get help from all the great fish experts at Petland of Iowa City. They're always happy to help you out there. Check out that section. It's in the back of the store. And again, they always are happy to help you out if there's something that you have a question about. If you want to keep your fish alive, if you've had some issues, those people back there can help you out. That's what they do, specifically helping out with fish, and they can help you out at Petland of Iowa City. And as we get ready to wrap up, Ron, almost out of time, Health Extensions, right?
Okay. So Health Extensions is one of our most popular foods in our store. We sell a lot of it. It is something that we found many years ago. I actually watched it for about 3 or 4 years just to see how well it performs and all that kind of stuff. It's been around for a lot longer than that. And we brought it in, about 2 years ago, and it just takes off. I love the back of the bag. Here's a list of the highlights, the quality ingredients. Organic, deboned chicken. So a lot of people like that organic thing. Derived from whole chickens raised without chemicals, pesticides, and all that. Chicken meal, I like the way they even describe it. Once cooked, all of the fat and water are released, creating a very concentrated, and we know this from listening into this show, very concentrated protein source. Chicken meal is a really good thing. Same thing on the lamb. It's lamb meal, so that's good. Brown rice is another high ingredient, highly digestible, and excellent source of energy. Those are the carbs within the rice. But what do we know rice also has? And our topic, I think it was last week or the week before, fiber.
Fiber, yes, fiber
is also a big source, and we know that fiber, while it does not, the fiber by itself does not bring any nutrients. It's key to our digestive tract. So soluble and insoluble is huge. Chicken fat, what is that going to do? Fats are a great source of omega-3s fatty acids. So that, and those are what essential fatty acids that our bodies can't produce. So we need to consume them. And we're talking dogs as well. And so dogs are a great thing. Apple cider vinegar. I had to go to Dog Advisor on that one and go, why is apple cider vinegar in there? And it's a dried component to it. And it is something that is providing pro and prebiotics to the food. And so it's a natural source of that they're getting. Glucosamine is in there. Kelp serves as an aid to a healthy coat. And then they also additionally supplement it with omega-3s, omega-6s through fish oil and so forth. So really good. Flip the bag over and you're going to read this. I think it's one of the best tools I've ever seen on a bag. Now going to the Dog Food Advisor, 4 out of 5. This is way above average as far as dog food goes, and the same thing for your cat. It is an excellent food for your dog and cat. They go through, they just don't have anything to say like, the only thing, and I think the reason why I didn't get a 5 out of a 5 is that beet pulp thing. They say it's a controversial. There is nothing controversial about beet pulp. It's great. It is a source of fiber for your dog or cat. It is only fiber. But what do they get there? Why do they think that there's something? Where does beet pulp come from? Beets. What do we have? Why do we consume a beet product almost on a daily basis? It's in the form of sugar. And so people think that if they read beet pulp, that sugar is coming into the diet. That would be incorrect. That would not be right. So it is only the fiber aspects of the beet pulp that are being contributed, and that is an awesome source of fiber for your dog and cat.
That's Health Extensions, one of the many great brands, a whole wall of pet food for you to choose from. And if you want to take a look, Pet Food Advisor, good place to take a closer look at some of the different types of foods that you guys have and rate them. Take a look at all that. You got something for everybody, don't you, Ron?
Yeah, we have over 30 brands of dog food and expanding that. So,
wow. And I believe it's buy 10, get 1 free for all of them, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. Plus $5 nail trims and other great deals going on. Become a member of their Petland Club and go by, play with the pups, right?
Yeah, come in and play. We're all about interaction, education, having a great time. So come in and play.
And check out the PAWSitively Petland Show at KXIC.com and Sunday mornings at 9. If you just tuned in and missed the end, and this is the end of the show, you missed it, well, you just could catch the podcast if you'd like and listen at your own leisure at KXIC.com. For Ron Salzert, I'm Jake Apron. Bye.